Hello, I'm Aaron Justin Bryant from Table Knights Entertainment. Welcome to Talk 20 to Me. Joining me today is the lovely Douglas Conrado and the even more lovely James J. Birch.
What can I say?
And it looks like your camera has gone black again, James. Apparently it will never go back.
It will never go back. It hates me.
Well, that's because once you go black, you never go back.
Really, Doug? Really? Was that necessary? Because I had already made the fucking joke.
Racism!
I think your camera's back to normal. Say something, James?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's back to normal. For some reason, what the... Anyway.
Racism!
Anyways, please remember, donate to Child's Play. That being said, let's move on to tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is Horde battles, wars, and large-scale conflicts. Now, James, since you're new to the show, please, open the floor.
I think this is a touchy subject for a lot of GMs and a lot of players because they really want to experience that mass combat on occasion. But what I've noticed is it never ends well. D&D, the system itself, is not really designed for mass large-scale combat. And even if it were designed for mass large-scale combat, it would still take an incredibly long amount of time. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever played Warhammer or Warhammer 40K, but the battles are very, very lengthy.
Woo. Ridiculous.
Douglas, your points, please.
War never changes. It all started with
Alright, I'm out.
Fallout.
We're not affiliated with Fallout. And
Bethesda, please don't sue us.
yeah, you have no idea, Doug. How
I'm sorry. I am truly sorry. I'm on that Fallout 4 hype train.
No, because like Bethesda, we love them, but they do get a little butthurt sometimes.
Yes, they do.
We don't all love them.
I mean, if anything, we can just fushra. So.
Oh God, please stop.
So war is quite an interesting topic in terms of lore, but in terms of actually doing it, it's both a beautiful thing, yet a horrible thing. Beautiful in the sense that, if done correctly, it will make for a great story. If done incorrectly, most players will probably fall asleep.
To right you, my friend. My opening statement will be this. I've actually run 2 or 3 large-scale war-like conflicts, and horde battles are a lot easier than a lot of people would think. But with large-scale conflicts, you may want to reference rules from a different game that actually is a war game. But always remember, you want to expedite the process. Cut off all the unnecessary fat, because it's about narrative, not rolling dice. Yes, rolling the dice is a large part of it, but if you get in the way of yourself, you're going to end up with a bad system. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this then. James, have you ever seen or used an instance of horde battles, wars, or large-scale conflicts that was more streamlined or efficient, or just you felt like it was good?
Yeah, actually, and it was more so not to do with the system as much as it was to do with how you managed the conflict and how you set the encounter up for the players. I was really inspired by Mass Effect 3, and this is the only thing you'll hear me say that's good about it. But I really like the fact that you could go around the galaxy and do stuff for the other races and the other planets, and in turn they will offer their support for the battle for Earth. And I did a very similar thing with my campaign. I basically said, okay, you know it's coming. You know there's an evil army on the march. They're torching lands. You got to pick a city and make that the final stand. But how do you do that? How do you get one nation to agree to help another? And how do you get the weapons that you need? I think it has a lot to do more about the lengthy setup before the battle. and that's what makes it more streamlined.
So what you're saying is don't focus at all on the actual war, focus on everything leading up to it.
Right, because you could almost explain everything in narrative. And one thing I've noticed, even in Lord of the Rings, when you watch the movies, the characters all seem to have an equally small part in the large scale battles. I mean, true, Legolas kills an Oliphant with an arrow and stuff like that, but compared to the damage that the Ghost did, or the damage that the Riders of Rohan as a whole did, or the defenses of Gondor, the main characters were responsible for very little action in that battle. They fought just as hard as any of the soldiers that were in that battle before. And I think that's one thing to remember, and it's the lead up to it. They got the Ghost Army, they got the Riders of Rohan to come help Gondor. That's what made that such an climactic and efficient battle.
I actually had a good example of that, per se. And I was playing one of Dylan's campaign, and one of my characters, Akira Akimoto, serves as a bodyguard for one of the shoguns of the lands, and his castle was besieged. So obviously we're talking about a large-scale battle. But the way Dylan did it was pretty interesting, because although the large-scale battle was going on, we were focusing on Akira and his struggle of him getting to his target, aka his daimyo. So while everyone's killing each other, it was more of just me focusing, like the character itself focusing on that character as he's cutting through like wave after wave and trying to get there. That's one thing that I kind of like about these large scale battles, because yes, they're fun to do, but as James was saying, most of the time it's really more of a focus of the hero of that situation, because again, it's what their struggle is in comparison to their whole life, and this is one part of their story that increases their what is it, their name, their being in this world. Yeah. While don't get me wrong, while everyone else is doing their best, you're mainly focused on your character or the centerpiece that is in that struggle.
Also a good point. For me, in reference to this, I definitely have to agree with the both of you. Preparation for the war and the individual actions that a hero takes within wars are massively effective, and you can give benefits to it in the statistics that you're running behind the screens for the total war. If your hero does something epic, raise morale for the troops and they can fight with like +1 or something like that. And if they do something that is horridly shameful, take away some morale from the troops, which morale is a pretty big thing that I don't think is talked about enough in a large-scale conflict. But as far as mechanics go, I think that it was Matt Click and Barker and Tim that came up with a really good system where you just have one pool of health and an average armor class. And based upon that, you have everybody fight that pool. And however much damage they do, you write out the average health per unit. And however much damage they do is how many of those enemies they slay on that turn. So you can be killing multiple enemies in a turn, which visually is more appealing because you're seeing your character swathe through fields of blood. So it's just more exciting. James, as far as mechanics go, where do you think the golden standard lies?
I think it's an execution of the mechanics, because the problem with war, and why I don't just like the idea of nerfing all of the enemies down to minion status, is it almost throws the narrative off. Leading up to the big Horde fight, you guys have fought monsters before, and a handful of orcs took you some time to put down. Then all of a sudden you get to this Horde battle, and you're swatting the orcs away like they're nothing. And then after this Horde battle, you're back to struggling against groups of 5 or 4 enemies again. And it almost throws the narrative off. It's like, whoa, look at you, you're so badass in this war. And then in the next mission, you're like, 3 hags approach, and the entire party struggles to kill these 3 hags, even though they just got done slaying 75 orcs in a matter of minutes. I think Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actually did it really, really well. And in fact, Matt Click and the gang in Provokers, they actually had an episode where they besieged a castle with just a small handful of Dwarven Rangers in themselves, but they all split up and went into different areas, and it was very well done because of how they did it. What I like about 5th edition is in the campaign Horde of the Dragon Queen, boom, campaign book opens, you've got a dragon attacking a town, and it's up to you to save Greenest. And it is besieged by a small army, and they did a really good job at the ebb and flow of the quests and making it feel like you're sneaking into the city, and then you gain the trust of the town because you saved a few civilians, and then they give you a few missions around the town that'll help. And even though it wasn't one constant battle, nor could you just walk up and slaughter your enemies with a simple wave of the wand, I thought it was very well done. But a battle like that takes an incredible amount of time to write.
Oh, of course. In my views on how battle is done, I play a lot of games that center around what is battle and how epic battles come from. For those of you who have ever played the Total War franchise, you'll understand. For those of you who are not familiar with the title, Total War is basically what the name entitles. It is Total War. You set up an army of thousands and thousands of soldiers, and you go at war with any other faction. And Total War goes with different types of eras, depending which ones are coming out. Which I'm happy that the next installment of the game is actually based on the Warhammer series. So look out for that if you're interested in Warhammer and Total War. So, well, one thing that makes battle that I think that needs to be improved on is morale. Morale is a huge benefactor in battle, regardless of how seasoned, experienced, or your weapons of the soldiers are, because God knows God knows that I've had experienced troops who have been battle hardened, but if they get attacked in the rear or flanked, that's it. Their morale starts to dwindle, and that's the end game for them. So when it comes to large scale battles, not only are we talking about like what are the heroes doing, what are the rest of the troops doing, but there also has to be some sort of mechanic that determines how the army is feeling. If we're killing and killing, we should be feeling good. We should be like, yes, we have this. But if we're dwindling and we're taking loss and loss, the army should be like, shit, we're gonna lose, and that in turn affects how they will keep on attacking, because then they won't attack as strong. They won't be as defensive because they already feel like they're going to lose. And in turn, it's up to the hero to either keep on pushing that initiative or looking for some strategic balance that will ultimately, make the battle fun and interesting. Whether or not you just play as a simple grunt or a commander of the army, it's really more of a strategic thing than, I guess, role playing and narrative wise. But that again, that's just my opinion, and that's how I've always seen battles, as a strategic warfare, not so much, hey, I'm going to kill everybody, I'm going to be kid.
Well, I would probably agree with you in that I'm a bit of a strategy nerd as well. I think, James, are you picking your nose on your screen? I think the picture's frozen on you pointing at your nose.
It's like, this nose will save my life. This, I swear upon it, and the lives of all Grindorians.
Is he still there?
Well, he's muting himself on and off, so.
Yeah.
There he
Apparently,
is!
in blowing my nose with Kleenex, I accidentally hit my boom mic up.
So anyway, yeah, I would definitely agree with you as far as the morale thing goes. I think it's an important factor. I guess you could probably do it like this. You could have little stones or tokens or whatever that start off at like a certain morale count. If you know your troops are feeling good or bad, and then you can lower that or raise it based on how the battle is going and little factors that your heroes bring about. Um, let's see where are we at in time. Um, so we got about 7 minutes left. Let's do our closing statements then. James, what's the final thing that you want people to take away from this?
I think strategy is important, but you have to realize that not every role player likes strategy. I mean, we do. So we as DMs, we might get hyped up and be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make it. I want trenches here. I want morale here. But people just aren't that strategic all the time. So I try not to weigh too heavy on that. If you're going to do morale, my recommendation is focus on the morale of only the nearby troops. Let them represent the army as a whole. So if the troops start to fail and a phalanx breaks through the flanks and you see everybody go, oh god, we got to run, that allows the players to maybe try to lift morale in that small group, and then you can gradually, narratively say how it affects the morale of all the other troops. And also, too much realism is a bad thing. We don't want to hear about how hours or weeks before the battle people are in the trenches shitting their pants because they have really bad nutrition. We don't need that much realism, and I think that's one thing another DMs get hung up on. It's like, well, there's not good water or food here. Oh, it's rainy, so you might slip in the mud. I think that becomes too much.
I've never actually had to deal with that kind of scenario, nor have I thought that was important.
You know, that's a good thing to. I think that's another topic we should discuss, whether or not how real should we make games become.
Yeah, but that's another day.
Another day.
Douglas, it's your turn.
Right. So I'm a man that I believe everything that happens in a battle can change the battle regardless of how experienced, how well armed, or how anyone is. More than not, I've won battles with just peasants and mobs only. It's the matter of the determination and how much people are willing to sacrifice or to win the battle. And when it comes to when it comes to role playing in these kind of games, it's more of how the player wishes to go about it. I think the player should have free reign in terms of how they should prepare the battle and how they should go at it in battle. Do they want to create a squad? Do they want to create a small squadrons of like 3 people? Go in the back lines and sabotage? Do they want to, do this? Do they want to take out heavy targets? Do they just want to be a grunt and fighting alongside men? Do they want to control the battlefield? All of that is how I'm going to end my discussion, because in truth, there's many ways it can be done, but what truly matters is what the player is enjoying. If it's anything I've learned in game design courses, is if your player is not enjoying the game, then the game is not fun. And that's the main thing that we have to learn when creating these games, these role-playing things, anything like that. If your players are not having fun, then you're not doing a good job.
Well, it's kind of an obvious statement, but one that needs to be said nonetheless. For me, my closing statement. Keep in mind to always have it be narrative. Fuck the mechanics if that's what it takes, because in the end you're telling stories, and that's what matters. That being said, if you want to do separate like mini sessions for each party member, you'll notice that party members are usually composed of groups of people who do very specific or different things. If you have a magic user in the party, they're probably going to be more inclined to be something like heavy artillery. Or they could be leading research for the war. If you're playing a fighter, you are on the front lines. Clerics, you're making sure that the rest of the army is more powerful because of you. And then if you're like doing rogue stuff, you're gathering information to give your people the edge. So keep that in mind for small little things that you can do while the war is going on that isn't, always directly tied to battle. I mean, with the fighter, it is, but, it's a fighter. With that being said, next week's topic is going to be min-maxing. Why it's good and sometimes even better to have a weakness. So, gentlemen, say your goodbyes.
All right, thank you for tuning in. Take it easy, and hopefully I can get better.
Are you gonna plug your channel? Come on, plug your channel, dude.
Well, my channel's actually hasn't been established yet. I'm going to be putting it together this week, but I will be representing a group of friends and I who are from Crit Crusaders Games, and we will be doing things like tabletop gaming, video gaming, and have a bunch of videos, at least 2 posts a week. So you should be able to find us on YouTube by the end of the week.
And hopefully, James and I will be doing some collaborations.
Yes, hopefully.
Douglas?
As you all know, keep on rolling them crits, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you do like this video. And always tell your friends about us. Tell your grandma. Tell your dead-on. Because you know what? We also reach to the netherworld. We do. I believe we have 20 views from them. One of them was Belzebos himself. He gives us 2 hellish thumbs up. That
was impressive, actually. I was rather stoked about that. When you pay for a level 20 necromancer, you expect good stuff, but Beelzebub's, no big deal. And that being said, remember to donate to Child's Play. That's the whole reason that we run this channel. We really love that charity. And from all of us here at Table Knights Entertainment, roll on.